Thank you for listening to the Golden Hour Drip podcast with me, Logan Lee Miller. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Golden Hour Drip podcast. I am your host, Logan Lee Miller. Thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, go ahead and check the show notes down below. We have an exclusive newsletter that is going out every single week to our dedicated listeners who are the diehards who love the show. If you're listening right now, you probably qualify. So go ahead, check it out, get signed up for our newsletter every single week. I am putting an extra episode every single Friday. So you're able to watch that extra podcast episode. If you haven't already noticed, on Spotify, we have a few locked episodes. Those are subscriber only episodes. So if you would like to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, for $5 a month, you can get every single extra episode. Or if you don't mind it being on YouTube, you can sign up for our weekly newsletter or email, and I will send you a link to it completely free. So you don't have to worry if you don't want to pay the $5. You're just able to watch it on YouTube. So I am super excited for this segment that we are starting. So please go ahead and click down below and subscribe to the email list. We are going to have exclusive content coming out. Any sort of extras, you are going to hear about it first. So go down below and sign up for the email list. I would really appreciate it. I kind of feel like I'm on one right now. I just got home. We went to town, so Garrett's Valentine's gift, I got him running shoes, and they didn't quite fit on his width of his foot. He needed a wider shoe. So we went out to the restaurant, and I swear the last week and a half, it's been closer to 2 weeks, I have been not exercising as properly, and I'll get into that in just a little bit, but I have kind of relaxed a little bit on my diet, and I think it's because I've kind of been pushed out of my routine. And so we went out to eat, and then we had cake, and I feel like that sugar is just coursing through my body. I've been doing really good on my diet. I've been, consistently tracking my food, watching what I've been eating since October. And I was editing one of the podcast episodes that I have a bunch of videos that I've recorded and I never edited and put on YouTube. And so I was going back to last November and this past November, okay, 4 months ago, I guess. And I was looking at my face, and I had just gotten done editing a video from last week, and I was oh my gosh, I can tell a difference. And for a second there, I was kind of getting a little disheartened, a little, that I wasn't seeing progress fast enough. I was this kind of sucks, and then something pretty traumatic happened to me. I went for a run on my lunch break. I've been trying super hard to get some activity in, trying to get my step count up. My steps have been really super embarrassing low. I'm just busy. I think a lot of people can relate to that. We have a lot going on in our day-to-day lives, and if it's something that we want to change and do, we have to make time for it because we're all busy. So here I was making time for it. I'm going on a run. I was I've got to do it. So I scheduled myself to run 3 miles during my lunch break. This is not super out of the ordinary. I've pretty much worked myself up. I can run some mileage. And so here I am running, and around it was 2.3 miles, I felt this huge clenching feeling in my lower abdomen. And I was like, oh, like that kind of feels weird. I had never felt a sort of like pain like that. I've ran since high school, you know, I've never felt any sort of side stitch or anything like that. I was like, okay, I need to listen to my body, even though like I want to push forward. I want to get my 3 miles in. Like my lunch break is only so long. I only have an hour-long lunch break. And I was like, but I feel like I need to take a break. I feel like I need to stop. I don't want to, but I think this is where people say like, listen to your bodies, right? So I'm like, all right, and I get in the truck, and then by that time, the intensity had multiplied. I kind of felt so dumb. I was like, oh my gosh, like, why am I feeling this pain? You know, I'm like talking to myself. I was like, ugh, this sucks. I was like, where is this coming from? And my first thought to myself was, oh my gosh, like something is seriously wrong. I felt so much pain. I was like, leaned my like seat all the way back, and I was thinking to myself, you know, I was at our furthest location for like my job. I was at one of our locations that's 45 minutes away from my house. And I was like, I literally thought to myself, how am I going to get home? Like, I don't think I can drive. Like, it was knocking the wind out of me. It felt intense. It felt horrible. And I did not, like, I didn't know what to do. And then I had this thought to myself, Garrett just got a new job, as I've told you before, but like he transitioned to his job about 3 weeks ago, and his insurance, like for our medical, was going to go up like immensely. Like it was going to be a lot more, like a lot. It was going to be a lot for the both of us. And then through my work, it only ended up being like $300. Well, we hadn't got it set up yet. So we're lapsed, like 2 days lapsed of our medical plan. I was like, oh my gosh. First thing I did, I was like in pain. I like texted Garrett. I said, pick a medical plan right now. And I was like, I can't go to the hospital. I don't want to pay out of pocket. That was like my first thought. Absolutely, this is wrong thinking. Like, you should not be doing that. But I was like, oh, like this literally, like I am in so much pain. And then I called Garrett. I said, I was like in tears. That's how bad it was. I have a very high pain tolerance. I was in tears. It felt like a cramp almost, like a clench. I had an IUD, a copper IUD put in 2 summers ago, and my body ended up like rejecting it, and it felt very similar, where if you've ever had an IUD, when they put it in, like it's going into your cervix, so it like has to get attached in there, right? Like it has to be anchored. And your body doesn't like it at first. Like that was the same feeling I was having, and running through my mind, I'm like, okay, like my appendix burst, I'm pregnant, and it's an ectopic pregnancy. Like I was so worried, and I was like, no, I'm probably fine. I was running, so that's in my head. I was like, I was running, I was putting myself in like an activity, so something is obviously, like, it's none of those things. My body, I just put it through a run. Like, it's just cramping. So I got home. I didn't think anything of it. Super Bowl Sunday actually rolled around, and I felt that pain again after exercise. And I was like, oh my gosh, like something is seriously wrong with myself. Like I hadn't felt any pain. That was like Wednesday when I went for the run, and it hurt. Sunday I worked out and it hurt really bad again. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is not great. Went to the doctor Monday. Come to find out, I had a ovarian cyst rupture or burst, whatever you want to call it. And she said the blood had went around my organs to be reabsorbed into the body, and that's why I was feeling so much irritation and pain and sensitivity. And I've never had one burst before. And I was kicking myself because I had like my womanly exam scheduled like for the first week in February, and I had to push back to like the end of February because I had like things come up and work and everything. I couldn't find the time off, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not saying that my doctor could have felt that or seen that or thought, maybe I have one. But I was like, oh my gosh, like I was in so much pain. I've never had one before, and it kind of scared me. Like it scared me a bit. So I've been just taking it easy, trying to relax and not stress my body out too much. But I was like, oh my gosh, like it was intense. It was intense. And I don't want that to scare me, right? Like, I talked to my doctor, she checked me out, she said I'd be fine, she said I could work out and do all these things, and I've kind of let it take like center stage of my life right now. Like I was feeling kind of like low energy. I was sleeping in like all week. I've woken up at like 5:36. Like I've not woken up at 4 with Garrett. And maybe my body has needed that rest. Maybe I've just been a little stressed out. Maybe I've been doing too much. And so I was like, you know what, like maybe I just need a little bit of a break. When I went to the doctor, they said my blood pressure was a little high. I was like, it's normal. I'm like worried, like I'm like doing all these things right now. And plus the weather has not been like super great. It's been overcast. It's been really, really cloudy, all these things. And so I was like, like it's okay. I will, not feel like this forever. I will get back on my grind. I'm not going to lose all my progress. Like I will be okay. Like it's okay to have breaks. It's okay to have an area of your journey where you're taking a step back or you're not able to perform like you did. Like it does not matter when you take a break or when you fail at something. Like I've officially failed 75 hard, and there's so many aspects of that challenge that I like so much. I've increased my water. I'm consistently drinking over a gallon a day. Not like too much over a gallon, but I'm drinking 120 ounces of water every single day. I am working out, not this, past week and a half, 2 weeks, I've not really worked out that great, but, working out every day is good, moving your body. I try to hit like a certain amount of steps, being on a diet, reading books, like those are all such great things. And it's not that when we fail, you can't ever fail or you can't ever lapse or you can't ever take a break. It's more about your bounce back and how long does it take you to bounce back, because the greatest athletes and the greatest people ever who have achieved so much, maybe someone who we look up to and we think, oh my gosh, like I would love to have their life, I would love to do the things that they do, we can get in that mindset of, oh my gosh, like I have to be perfect or I'll never be able to achieve what they can achieve. But it's not the fact that they were perfect all the time, it is the fact that their bounce back ability, when they had a bad day, it didn't turn into a bad week. And a lot of them have trained themselves. So it's not, if you have a bad interaction, it's not morphed into, okay, bad 3 hours, 4 hours, a day, 2 days. They're able to like put it in a compartment in their brain and think, okay, like that only happened in this situation. It doesn't have to ruin the rest of my day. It does not have to ruin the rest of the things in my life. It can just be a bad moment. It's their bounce back ability. And so I'm really trying to focus on my bouncing back and still giving myself rest and giving myself the time to just be myself and listen to my body. I've actually, like the cake I had later this afternoon, I had some cake and I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I've eaten a lot of sugar this week because one, it was Valentine's Day, like there's candy where I work, there is, just sweet treats everywhere, and I've eaten a few things that aren't like totally healthy. And I'm worried about sugar sag. If you've never heard what sugar sag is, it's where a person who eats too much sugar, it actually breaks down the collagen in their face, in their body actually, but you can really see it in their face, where when they eat too much sugar, it breaks down the collagen and it just brings your face down. And it brings, because collagen is like the bouncy stuff in your skin, like it makes your face bouncy and more youthful. And you guys know I'm all about staying youthful, all about protecting my skin. And so I'm like, oh, Logan, you've had a lot of sugar this week. Like, we need to cut back on the sugar because it's not good for the collagen in your face. I have a facial scheduled for this upcoming Monday, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like here we are investing money into a facial to make sure that we are using the best products on my face and making sure that I'm getting extractions, and I do some dermaplaning, and I am working towards improving my skin. And here I am eating sugar all day long, and I'm like, oh, I'll have sugar sag. Now, sugar sag is literally years and years of like too much sugar, and it's breaking down the collagen and it's just bringing your face down. I do not want to do that. So I've fallen off the wagon, if you will. Not really fallen off the wagon. I'm being drugged by the wagon. Okay, I'm hanging on for dear life. But it's when you take a break from your routine, take a break from what you've been doing. Balance is good, okay? Like, balance is so good. It's all right if you take a break one day. For me, it's something that I have definitely struggled through my entire journey of making sure I'm healthy and trying to get my body right and my mind right and do the things that are going to give me the most happy, healthy life. And it's okay if you have one off day. It's okay if I have cake tonight, you know. It's balance. And I'm working balance back into my routine. I'm working balance back into my day-to-day. And I know that once my body heals, because right now, this week, I am on my period, and once that is completely done, I know that I'll go back to normal. Sometimes everything can snowball, you know. I already had super low energy. I was already a little stressed. And then on top of that, I had a ovarian cyst burst. And so that threw me off my schedule. That makes me worried to do things. And I have this snowballing. And so then I feel bad, like I can't work out. I, don't feel good enough to go to the grocery store, and it'll be so much easier if we just like order out. We've ordered out so much food in the last 2 weeks, partly because after traveling, we never went to the grocery store to get things. It's a combination. We all have life happening for us, not to us, but we all have a life happening all around us every single day. It's whether or not you take it at face value, you take it for what it is, and you work with it. You find those silly, funny ways to make sure that you are getting your goals in. You are making sure that even if you have a down day, it doesn't turn into a down month. If you are struggling with a certain aspect, talking to a friend, getting some help, changing up your routine, those are all good things to get out of a bad cycle. But I just felt like there are so many things just snowballing on top of me, and it can feel suffocating to try to start again, and you almost feel like a failure. Like, oh, I'll never be able to get this right. I failed before, I'm failing again. It's easy to get in that mindset, but you gotta step outside a box. That is why I like my Apple Watch so much. I like my Apple Watch. I like being able to track my workouts. I like to be able to track when I'm doing the good things and being consistently marking the box, saying, oh, this is when I worked out. This is when I did it. Because when you do have those days where you forget to do something or you had a bad week, we all have bad weeks. We all have bad days. It can be easy to think, ugh, I haven't worked out in a month. But really, you might have worked out sporadically throughout the month. Maybe one Wednesday you went and worked out, and you can see when you track it, like, oh, I worked out here and I worked out here and I had 3 days in a row here and that was so good. And it's only been actually 4 days since my last workout or my last walk or whatever you did. That's why I like tracking things so much, because when you can track it, you can see where you're improving, where you are lax on your goals. What came up? What was your barrier? How can you move those barriers? If you don't track it, you don't know the data. And when you don't know the data, you can't adjust. You're basically just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping one spaghetti noodle will stick. Because you don't know. You've not figured out any sort of pattern. Because patterns are what makes our life and our routines. When we get up, brush our teeth, we have a good day. Why did we have a good day? Is it because we have a routine or a pattern of always leaving our clothes out the night before, or going to bed at 8:30, not binge watching Netflix, eating a good meal so then we have a good night's sleep, taking our magnesium before bed? I love to listen to brown noise before I go to bed. Gets me in the zone for sleeping. Whatever it is, we have patterns, and those patterns make up our lives. Because, and I've talked about this before, our personalities, what makes me, and what makes you, is your routines. It's the choices that you're making every single day. This is why the kids that you go to high school with, or went to high school with, if you think about your classmates, and you think about the people who were in your class, we categorize them, right? Okay, these are the jocks, these are the populars, these are the weird kids. No, whatever it is, you categorize them. And why? Because of the actions that they've done. If they are athletic, they are on a team, right? They're eating healthy. They are going to the gym to build the muscle, to be able to run faster or jump harder, higher, whatever it is. The people who are dramatic, who are in drama club, or we had choir and dance, like whatever it is, like we categorize people by where they spend their time and what they do. But people can change. And when you go to your 4 or 5 year anniversary and you look back at the people that you graduated with, some people you might have categorized in a certain category can change. Why? Because they switched up their routines. They switched up the things that they were doing. They might have been someone who slacked off in high school, who never had their homework turned in, who was late and didn't ever take anything seriously. But then they started to cultivate good routines. They started to go to bed early. They started to show up to work every single day, put their head down, put in the work. And now they're successful. Maybe they have a really nice job or a nice family, whatever it is. People can change. And how do they change? Through their routines and through their patterns that they do every single day. And just like the slacker stoner from high school can be a successful person in adulthood, is because when we make the change to say, hey, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to smoke that thing or drink that thing or show up late or not care or have a bad attitude. When we can change and think, oh, like I'm going to be different. I'm going to change my patterns. You're changing your identity. You're changing who you are, because now that slacker from high school is no longer that slacker because he changed his identity. And when you change your identity and change the things that make you who you are, then it's okay to, all right, I had an off day, but I'm going to have less off days because of my bounce back ability. When I have an off week or have an off day or an off hour, it's when you remind yourself, hey, this is not who I am. I don't do that kind of thing. That's your identity. That's you saying, hey, this pattern, this routine, this thing that I just did, that's not normal for me. That's not something that I usually do. That's not who I characterize myself with that pattern or with that activity, that action, whatever you did. You don't have to be glued to that. And maybe you're one of those people who had a stigmatism around the person that you were in high school. Maybe you were pegged in one hole, but you don't want to be in that hole anymore. You want to change and be a different person, so you start doing new things. You can change right now today. Maybe you're still, you're telling yourself this story that someone else told you, oh, you're not good at math. That was one of the things that people told me, like, I'm not good at math. I will say, like, in high school, I didn't have a very good grade in math. Math was a struggle for me. It was not something that I found any joy, right? But I didn't allow that story that sometimes I told myself, but sometimes other people told me. I didn't allow that story to determine my future or to determine my job. My job that I have today is very numbers based. It is all numbers. It is all about cash flow and making sure, like, I'm looking at numbers all dang day. Like, my job is numbers, and I could have let, the idea of myself, oh, I'm not very good at numbers, I'm more of a creative. But instead I decided to strengthen that skill, to push myself out of my comfort zone and to do something else. And that is completely fine. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to do things. And it's going to be tough. Like, when you are first starting out to change a routine or change a habit, change your attitude, change your mood, like, those are all such hard things to do because our brains are so ingrained. We as human beings, we don't like change. We can say we like change. We can say, I just love unpredictability. No, we all like things to be predictable. We like to be comfortable. That's why doing challenges and hard things is so important if you're trying to stretch and grow into a new being, into new habits. And when we decide to make a change and when we decide we're going to do something new and we are trying something that we've never tried before, our entire body screams, oh my gosh, we can't do this. Why do you think you can do this? Like, you are something else. Like, our body will start to say, you cannot do this. But that's when you push ahead. And there's a book that I absolutely love, The 5 a.m. Club. If you have not read it, absolutely go order it from Amazon or get it from your local bookstore. Go get it. He talks about this thing where any sort of change, if you have 60 days, Lent is coming up. I know a lot of you Catholics, Lent is a huge thing where you give up something for multiple days. And that is the same concept of you're wanting to, give something up for God, but it's also like a habit, like 60 days, right? And so he was talking in the book, The 5 a.m. Club, how when you're making a change, it is hard in the beginning. It is so hard. Your body is screaming, we cannot do this. You are going against the status quo. If High School Musical fans in here, I'm going against the status quo. You're trying something new. Your whole body is screaming to you. In the middle, it's messy. Right now in my journey, I'm in the messy part. You are somewhat on the right path and somewhat of these bad habits still sticking around with you, and it's messy. We're trying to figure out a new routine. We're trying to do a new thing. It's messy. And then once you get to the other side, when you sort through all the mess and you finally get on a routine and you change your identity and you change your mindset on who you're going to be, then it's beautiful at the end. It is so beautiful because you've gotten that routine, you've gotten that thing, you've accomplished it, and it's ingrained in your body and it's second nature. And then once that happens, the best thing happens after that. We can add a new one. We can do another 60 days of a new habit, a new thing that we want to achieve. And that is how we consistently improve ourselves and start habit stacking, where we can put this habit and this habit and this habit, and it all becomes second nature because we've changed our identity, we've changed our routines, and we have changed who we actually are in our uttermost core. So for me, for the next, week and a half left of February, and actually, you know what, the end of February and into March, I'm really going to be focusing on my habits and my routines. I do not have to go back to my old self. I don't have to revert back into those old habits just because I've had a rocky 2 weeks, just because I've had a break and I've had things that I don't normally eat, I've brought back into my diet, but just because I've had a bad day or a bad week or a section of my journey that is not perfect does not mean that I've totally ruined all my progress. Sometimes we can tell ourselves a story that if we are not perfect and we don't stick to everything all the time, just super good, that it is not worth doing, that it's pointless to continue because it's not going to be perfect. As I've said before, and I will say again and again, we are looking and focused on progress, not perfection. Because when we focus on perfection, we'll never start. We'll get discouraged. We'll start, and when we're not perfect, we will quit. I'm not trying to do that. I want to progress over time, and I think that's what life is all about. Getting better every single day, trying new things, exploring, and making mistakes. And those are all part of each and every one of our journey. If you look back and think about the things that you've done that maybe you're not the proudest of, maybe you wish in a different life you wouldn't have done them, but I don't think that's necessarily correct. We should be looking at those things that we're not proud of, or looking at those things where we could have handled it better. Those were great learning moments where we assessed the situation and we knew that that is not how we wanted to live our life, and we pivoted. You can always pivot and you can always change. For me, the last 2 weeks, they have gone more poor than if I would have had a better mindset, if that makes sense. I did not have a good mindset. I was kind of all over the place. I was down in the dumps. I've kind of had a negative attitude, and I've let it snowball. I've let it hold me back and keep me from doing the things I wanted to do. I have had just a sour attitude. I cannot explain it more than I was in a piss ass mood. Like, we all go through these moments where we're just grumpy. It's okay to be grumpy, and it's okay to feel those feelings. I know for myself personally, I have avoided certain feelings because, one, they're not great to feel in, right? Like anger, jealousy, sadness, like they're not fun emotions. They're not. But we have to be able to experience them and express them, because if we just tamp them down in our heart, we're like, oh, I'm not angry, I can't speak out, I cannot talk to him about that, even though I'm festering on the inside. I don't like feeling angry, I don't like that conflict. That's hurting you on the inside. Your voice is important, your feelings are important, and you're allowed to voice those and speak those, even if it's uncomfortable. I think I definitely sometimes avoid being uncomfortable because it's not fun. Nobody likes being uncomfortable. But when we get uncomfortable, we can have so much growth. And allowing yourself to be in those emotions of sadness, regret, jealousy, they're not great feelings. But once we recognize them, once we acknowledge them, then we're able to move past them and we can address them. Then when we do that, it's easier to be happy, because then we're not thinking, ugh, like I still feel so angry, or I feel so sad, because you don't feel acknowledged. You don't feel like you were able to get it out. It's so good when we are experiencing these emotions or these things, because then we're able to get them out. That's why journaling is so good, because we write out everything that is stressing us out and we're able to acknowledge it. A problem written down is half solved, because we're getting it out of our head. If you think about it, I think it was in the book Atomic Habits. We are creatures of habit, and when we have the same thoughts in our head over and over and over, it can feel like we are in a cycle of just the same worries, the same anger. And when we get it out on paper, when we journal, then it's breaking that cycle. It's getting it out of our head and onto paper, and we don't have to be stuck in the same washing machine, you know, just like going round and round and round. We can get it out. So I personally have journaled a little bit about my mindset, about my mood, and I think a lot of us are experiencing some bad mood, especially in the end of winter. We're really close to springtime. I talked about tulips coming up last episode. Be sure to check that out. Actually it's been a while. Episode 207, I talked about tulips, so go check that one out. We're at the end of winter. We're coming on to springtime, but there's still, where I live in the Midwest, we had snow in May one year, so it can happen. We still have a little bit of winter to go. Our days are getting longer, which is always so good for the mind, body, and spirit, but we still have some time to go, and the weather is not going to be super cooperative. We've had freezing rain, we have had ice, snow flurries, it is wintry mixes. I personally, my mood is impacted by the weather. One of my very, very first episodes, I talked about this with one of my good friends, Abby Wells. But sometimes the weather has an impact on my mood, because once that sun comes out in March and April, I feel like I just had the best energy drink. I'm full of energy, full of life. It's like, oh my gosh, I actually have been influenced by the bad weather. But I think a lot of us are in the same boat right now. And so I have a few tips for anybody who is experiencing bad moods, if you will. So the first one, to boost your mood, if you're wanting to feel happier, if you're wanting to kind of push aside the anger. Sometimes we're actually angry and sad or jealous. Sometimes we actually have those feelings, but sometimes we're in those moods for no reason. One little thing set us off. This is where your bounce back ability is so important, because if one little thing turns you off or makes you mad, and you let that fester and you let that grow into something bigger than it actually is, that's when we can actually become even more unhappy. Acknowledge the feeling, and then we're going to move on. We're going to move on from the bad day. It's a bad day. It is not a bad life. So the first one, to boost your mood, it honestly, it's pretty standard. Get some exercise. I know it's redundant.
I'm not sure I understand.
Ooh, that honestly scared me. My Apple Watch just went off. That literally, sometimes when I get my hands moving, that actually scared me. I'm so sorry if that scared you at home. No, exercise. I know it's a little redundant, but exercise is so good for your body. It is so good for even if it's something small, like going for a walk. I personally, when you're in a rut, it's so hard. It feels like everything is going to take so much energy to get out of the slump. But if you just do something super short, walk to your mailbox. I did this last weekend. I walked outside, walked to my tulips. I moved my body. This past week I had not worked out, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I've not worked out. I feel awful about it. I'm going to quick do a stretch. And I stretched on my tip toes. I stretched towards the ceiling. I I did a downward dog, I did a few cat cows, and then I did a child's pose, and I felt so much better. And so much better. That short little movement, it gave me endorphins. It made me happy. I felt a little silly in my pajamas, just like trying to do these stretches. It was very impromptu. I had no sort of guidance. It was just me guiding myself, doing something that felt good. I was in the flow. Exercise, so underrated. People forget about it. And it's funny, these little things, they seem so dumb. People say all the time, go for a walk, it'll make you feel better. You're feeling sad, go for a walk. It's crazy when these little things, these little hacks work. You're feeling grumpy, you yelled at your husband. Sometimes that happens. You go for a walk, you feel a lot nicer. It's like, oh my gosh, like I just need a little exercise. I promise you, you will feel so much better. I hate it. Sometimes I will hate it. I'm going outside, I'm grumpy with myself. I was like, this is stupid. It's cold outside. Don't want to be out here. It's taken too much time. Like, you could be negative, but go for a walk. I promise you, you'll feel so much more positive when you come home. It's crazy how these little things will actually boost your mood. They will actually make you feel better. Personally, I am on the verge of purchasing a walking pad. I see these everywhere. They're so cool. Garrett is working from home, so he has a stand-up desk. It raises, it lowers. And I was like, we could get a walking pad. You can walk during the day if that's something you want to do. No pressure. I want to walk in front of the TV. I want to, in the evening when we're watching TV or something's on, I want to be able to walk on my walking pad. That would make me feel more productive because I have troubles with my steps. I'm not very good at it. I am working at a desk all day long. My job, I don't have the option for like a standing walking desk. I try to go on my lunch breaks, but sometimes I just want to eat. Sometimes I don't get a lunch. I'm trying to change my identity. I'm trying to change my habits and do something that I normally don't do. And I'm on the verge. I have it in my Amazon cart right now. I'm on the verge of buying a walking pad because one, that's something that I don't normally do, but I feel so much guilt when Garrett and I only have so much time together. If you think about it, we spend 8 to 9 hours at work. If you have like a standard 9 to 5 job, or 9 to 5, it is not 9 to 5, it is 8 to 5 and sometimes more. But when you have an 8 to 5 job, you have to work at making the time to spend with your significant other, and then you have all these other things that your goals, your aspirations, the thing you want to do, hanging with your friends, having any hobbies, going to work out. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. I'm struggling with the same thing myself. So I've decided that if I get a walking pad while Garrett is cooking supper, I can be, in my office walking, editing, doing whatever. When we're watching TV, we can be in the same room, we can be watching the same show, and I'm walking on my treadmill. So I'm on the verge. I'm almost there. Almost there. I'm waiting for it to go down in price. They're around like $300. So I'm trying really hard to save my money and budget accordingly, and not just buy things for that instant pleasure. I think delaying gratification is so good because then you appreciate that thing more. So I'm like, it wasn't in the budget this month. Like this paycheck, I did not think at the beginning of February I was going to buy a treadmill. This is an impromptu thing. It wasn't in the budget, so I need to budget for it. I need to wait until the end of February. So hopefully I hold out. I mean, there is a few more days left of February, so maybe I will budget accordingly, and then I can get a treadmill. I'm on the edge. Exercise is so good. I think also because right now it's so wintry out. It's yucky. I'm not feeling it, honestly. But there's no excuses then. I don't have to go to the gym, it's at home. I don't have to go outside because it's inside. It will help me be in a better mood and break up. I'm going to work and now I'm at home. Sometimes you don't have a break and you can have the same mood of, okay, I'm drained at work, to, okay, I came home, like I would like to have an evening. An evening would be so nice. So exercise, that will boost your mood. Sorry, I talked about my treadmill. Hopefully I convinced you that you need one too. Maybe we can be walking buddies. Add me on Apple Watch. I would love to walk with you. We can have a little walking goal. But exercise, that will help boost your mood. The second thing that I have on my list to boost your mood is eat or drink something cheerful, and bonus if it's good for you. This morning, I was like, it's the weekend, it's Saturday, I need to clean my house. I love cleaning my house, guys. You know I do. We picked up my Dyson vacuum today. I'm so excited. I'm gonna vacuum all around. But we got that this afternoon. So in the morning, I was like, I'm not gonna clean because I don't wanna use my old vacuum. I'm gonna use my new vacuum. So I did not clean. And I thought to myself, I could be doing something productive, or I could work on a hobby. I could work on those things. I don't really have anywhere to go. I don't really have to do anything at all. Like, there's nothing on my plate. It's a relaxing day. I had something to go to like 10 to 3, easy, something simple with my dad, but I didn't really have anything to do this morning. So you know what I did? I made homemade bread. Oh my gosh, I was so happy to, pour my flour and measure my olive oil and mix together some bread and put it in the oven. Like, that was something cheerful and nice for me to do. It took me out of a bad mindset because here I am, like, putting some flour on the table and rolling out my silly little dough to make bread, but it's fun. And that instantly made me happier. It was something silly. I was making bread. Eat, drink, make something that makes you happy. Your regular eggs and bacon that you have every single day, make it into little eyes and a mouth. Which brings me to the next one. Welcome some randomness into your life. That will instantly boost your mood. If you are looking for those things that just give you a smile, that are so happy, when you look for things that are totally random in your day-to-day life. And I know this is not like 2013 random, like, it's not that kind of random. It is welcoming those little happy moments in your life. Pay attention to the things around you. You do not know what you could find happiness in. One of my favorite things is seeing if I can find like a cheerful face, eyes and a mouth, right? Whenever I go to the dentist, I always look at like their nostrils and their mouth, how their nostrils could be eyes, or their eyebrows. Like, I always look at their face like that because you're lying upside down. I used to do that more as a kid. I try not to look at them as an adult. I try to close my eyes. But smiley faces in cars, like if you look at a car driving down the road and you see the headlights being eyes and the bumper to be the smile, like finding little faces, that is so fun. Or looking at shapes in the clouds. Finding any sort of randomness is so good to boost your mood. And at first it can be hard because you're like, what is Logan talking about? Randomness? Find something green, and whenever you find that you're going to grab coffee, try to find something green in the lobby. When you go on your run, look for a person in a purple shirt. I don't know, these crazy things. Just welcome with the randomness into your life, and I promise you, it will make you so much happier. Like, it will bring you joy. It will be so cheerful. Like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't even know. It sounds bizarre right now, but I promise you, you'll get the hang of it and you will be happier. It'll boost your mood. Find those random little things. Another habit that I've done to boost my mood is anytime anything works in my favor, I immediately say out loud, I am the luckiest girl in the world. It seems so silly, but if anything remotely positive, happy, awesome happens to me, I think, oh my gosh, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. How did this happen? Like, of course it would happen to me. I have said it so many times, and it brings a smile to my face because I'm like, why wouldn't I be so lucky? Why wouldn't I get this thing or be up for this award? So I just say, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. And if you can do this when the bad things happen to you, maybe you were up for a promotion. You're like, I'm gonna get a promotion. And then someone else gets it. Say to yourself, I am the luckiest girl in the world because maybe that promotion would have been bad for my mental health. Maybe that promotion was going to be bad for my relationship. If you can do it for the good and the bad, you really will become the luckiest girl in the world. I know some people, this has been very, very mainstream on people saying, I'm so lucky, I have lucky girl syndrome. It's a real thing. Practice it. You will see how it starts to impact your life. Next thing, to boost your mood, declutter, throw things out. I always say this because I personally think that I have more stuff than I could ever want. I have more things than I could ever need. I have everything I could need. I have everything I could want. And sometimes I have too much of the things that I don't need. Right now, I've been going through my clothes. I don't have that many clothes. I'm looking very fresh today. I got a little cream shirt on, a rust-colored jacket, black pants, my favorite Steve Madden boots. I can mix and match my outfits like no other, but I really only need 10 to 15 pieces. I don't need 40 to 50. I keep reminding myself, like, because other people are shopping for the springtime and summertime, and they're shopping and doing like Princess Polly hauls and Shein hauls, and I think to myself, and I say it, you are too bold. Here I am flubbing it up. You are too poor to buy something so cheap. And this might sound counterintuitive, but you are too poor to buy things cheap because then when you buy it cheap, you have to replace it. And there has been so many items that I've worn 1 or 2 times and then they kind of fall apart in your hands. The fabric doesn't feel as nice. It doesn't fit as good on your body. When you invest in those higher quality pieces, then you can keep them for longer. That's helping with our trash problem in America for sure. It's helping with fast fashion, to not have fast fashion. It's helping with your finances by not spending too much. And I take this into account for all things in my house. When I am lured into consumerism, capitalism, and I think, it's almost Easter, there's going to be these little bunny rabbits and eggs, and I'm going to want to buy it all and decorate my house. I think, okay, how long are you going to actually have it? Is this plastic going to break immediately? Is it going to be an heirloom that you'll be able to pass down? Or is this a cheap thing that you're going to throw away ultimately? And by decluttering my house and taking inventory of things, I might have purchased something 6 months ago and now I don't have any need for it. This is helping with my impulsive purchases. This is helping with my overall waste that I'm producing as a human being, my footprint on the world. And so when you take a look at your environment, getting out the things that are cluttery and messy, I'm moving junk from one place to another. That makes me grumpy. Oh my gosh, I'm always having to pick up, I'm always having to clean. If I had less stuff, I wouldn't have to clean as much, right? And so if you're able to take inventory of the stuff around you and then also have the mindset, hey, I'm not going to add anything new or more to our house until we clean a few things up, then you're able to be happier because your environment isn't so overstimulating. You're not always having to get rid of things or add things or need to replace this because it broke again, need to change this because it's not good quality anymore. So that all will help increase and boost your mood. But the next thing and the last thing as we wrap this episode up is remind yourself that it will not be like this forever. You will not always be in a slump. You will not always be in a grumpy ass mood. There are better times coming. You will be happy again. I promise you. There was a point in my life where I just thought so many times, I'm so unhappy. When will I be happy again? I wish I could just be happy like I was in the past. I wish I had my old life. I wish I was doing the things that I used to do. And I remember and I tell myself, hey, like, you're not going to feel this way forever. Just like you felt happy in the past, you can feel happy again in the future. This is not going to last forever. Your bad mood is not going to last forever. Your slump is not going to last forever. You will find the inspiration to have good things happen again and be happy. And it is somewhat due to the weather, and sometimes it's due to our jobs or our situations or the things that we're in, but we have the choice to change, and we have the choice to decide, hey, like, I am not going to be grumpy. Sometimes it's as simple as a mindset shift where you can say, today is going to be different than all the days in the past because I'm a new person, because I don't do this thing anymore, or I started doing this thing and this is part of me. This is part of my identity. I'm not going to be grumpy anymore. I am not going to yell at my coworker or be grumpy to my siblings, yell at my roommate, whatever your situation is. Sometimes just having this simple mindset shift, hey, I'm not that person. I know better times are coming. I'm not going to feel like this forever. Sometimes that's all it takes. That is all it takes to know, hey, good things are coming. I promise you, good things are coming to you. You are the luckiest girl in the world, and you will be happy again. You will absolutely be happy again. Or if you're not feeling 100%, or you are feeling pretty good, hey, I feel pretty good, I'm pretty happy, but you can always be more. You can always be better. You can always be happier. I think that ER is so important. It intensifies it. My very good friend, Naomi Nuss, her mom was all about the OR, the stronger, faster, and she's recently passed away, and I think about that myself, intensifying my life and intensifying the things that I'm already doing, because life is so short. And I think Stacy lives like a very vibrant and fulfilled life, but she's my parents' age, right? And we lost her to breast cancer. And I just think to myself, anything could happen at any given moment. So I want to intensify my life and be happier and be more vibrant and more joyful, right? There are so many things that we can be more of, and we just have to shift our mindset. We just have to change the way we think. So thank you so much for listening, and until next time, bye.